And them, they are very strict that if you're getting this women, make sure that you're capable of taking care of them. But on this other side, sometimes they will just tell you, I can't and I can't and I can't. They get a second wife in hiding. They get a second wife, they're not able to take care of the first wives. They get a second one and they decide to just linger the other kids and so much more. But it is something that is becoming more of a trend. It is so common today, so common so that we now have to speak about it in broad daylight. And so when I put up this poster, a friend of mine who is a girl, and in most cases is a woman, who will say, no, he should not marry a second wife. I cannot stand that. Neither can I be the second wife, and all these stories. But women are confident and are accepting it. But nowadays, these guys will go for a second wife. So the earlier you accept it, the better. And so she tells me, you know what, for as long as there is respect, there is no problem. That is what we'll be discussing this morning, and we'd love to hear your feedback on the same. Men, come out and defend yourselves. Don't be doing this in hiding. Just tell us why. You've been pushed to levels where you have to get a second wife. We've had people singing, a scenario where the first wife or the Hashungu or the second wife now calls the first wife to tell them, you know what, nimechoka kusikia kesi kutoka kwa bwana yako that you're not doing this. I'm not coming in bad faith, but I'm telling you, try and do this so that we can keep our husband, feeling good and in order. That is the irony that is here today. We have come to a point of acceptance. So we have to have this conversation, and we probably get to understand whether we can get to levels where as a wife you're able to keep your man to yourself, and that they would not have the desires of going out there to get another woman. Is it a desire? Is it something that can be controlled? Is it something that is healthy in society in terms of relationships today? What does it mean for the kids who are coming from the first marriage, and so much more? So karibu sana. And after a very long time, we have doctors and the Kimanis, I call them, Dr. Jane and Dr. Julius. Good to have you.
Yes, thank you.
Karibuni sana.
It's
been a minute. How have you been?
Very well, thank you. Also happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
And there we go. If today you would hear that Daktari is bringing a second wife, we change surah.
I'm trying to imagine. Continue.
What would happen?
I would leave him with a second wife.
You're not staying there?
No.
Why not?
Life is a matter of
choices. With all the investment, with all the time you spent together, with the kids involved.
I would just call it a bad investment. That is me. It's not every other lady, but that is me. There are things when you look at the turmoil that women go through, the competition, trying to be calm, trying to be down. I wouldn't waste a dime of an energy. I wouldn't. Now that is me. No, I'll tell him this is your choice. Tembea na Yesu. Yeah.
Is it that easy?
It wouldn't be easy.
Very painful.
It would not be easy, but ultimately that would be the final decision. Yeah. It would be the first and the final.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you would do that in hiding.
Yes, that's why they do it in hiding, not him.
Yes.
But that's why a lot of men, men do it in hiding because they know most of the first wives will not agree to that. So because they want to have their pleasure, they want to have their cake and eat it, they would rather do it in hiding so that nobody pursues them to know why or why not. And a lot of women get very aggressive when they get to know there is another wife. So you find most of them will do it in hiding. Except what you said, like our Muslim brothers who now, and the wives, they know that that one will not get there because that is religion, that's their culture. But for the rest, they'll do it in a lot of hiding and in a lot of fear and trepidations. That's why you're going to hear of a man who has been having a second wife with children who are in high school, and the first wife has no clue. Is purely clueless.
Wow.
Yeah. For many years, they play their cards and they play them very secretly.
That's the hardest thing to do. You'd rather come out open.
True. There is nothing as hard as living a lie. Every day you come home and probably you cannot account for 2 days and you have to use a lie. And maybe next week you still have to use the same lie, and probably you slightly forget. Lies they are not consistent, so you tend to forget. about what probably you said last
the
month.
other time, yeah.
And now again, probably you go to a scenario where maybe you're in a social place, and maybe your friends are mentioning somewhere you are, and suddenly your wife looks at you and you're like, and women can remember things. I thought last week you said you were in such and such a place. So it becomes very hard for the person. In fact, we are saying men who actually keep a secret relationship tend to die earlier or develop lifestyle diseases. Okay. The pressure of keeping a relationship in a stable way is very hard. Okay. But I think the thing is, as you're asking, you're saying, why should a man go for the second wife?
Right.
I think there are many factors that would lead to that. Of late, I would say, number one, we have seen a law that has allowed polygamy. Yeah. And so you find there are so many people who feel like, now I have got backup. And you see, when the government or the law sometimes allows that to happen, you suddenly feel like you've been allowed. It's like today, if there was a law that allowed changa to be brewed in hygienic ways, I'm very sure there are so many people who would feel like changa is okay now for my body, and I can take it all the way. So I think that is one of the factors that has contributed to it. Number two, we've also seen prominent people pushing for the same, where somebody is saying, okay, I have 2, 3 or 3 wives, and I'm okay with them. But we never bring the women to the scene and ask them the same question. In fact, as you say, I was doing a small research of different, different religions and different people who actually accept polygamy. But now you find on the men's side, it may be okay. But when you look at the women's side, as she has said, one of the cited things is the competition that they feel. Number 2, the rejection that they feel. And also the kids, they go to a state whereby there is always that competition for the father. The man may feel okay, but at the end of the day, they may feel like, the kids may feel like we don't have enough of our father. And the women also feel like they have to play such a big role in trying, a big thing to try to keep up with this man so that he doesn't marry another extra one. So I would say polygamy can be challenging to many men, but there are also factors that drive people to those directions.
Why are we getting to a point of acceptance? It is hard nowadays, and I'm telling you this, to get a woman who would look at me in the face like you have and told me, you know what, he does that, I'm out. Nowadays, they say, it's all right, well, if he chooses that, it's all right, bora amenijengea nyumba yangu, mimi niko na watoto wangu, we're getting what we're supposed to get, let him go and do his thing. Yeah. You get that a lot. Yeah.
But underline what you've said, you get what you need to get. So it's about material. Yeah. As long as he supplies. So what is his role in your life at that point? Supply. In the new phase of life, it is supply. Does he still supply? If he still supplies, let's keep the status quo. So that I don't annoy him, peradventure he refuses to supply. But I will say this, economy has been hard on everybody. That's true. And many times a lot of women will even die, martyr themselves because of the children. They know they would hate to have a second marriage, but no, they're afraid, if I don't allow my husband to get another wife, what about if he stops to educate our children? What about if there is no food for us on the table? And women are wired for security. So they see the husband as a security giver. And when they start to fear that my security will be threatened, my financial security will be threatened, my provision security will be threatened, and even the presence of a father figure. And also because when a woman got married, most of them had shut the door to divorce or separation. They got married. And in our culture, we've got this thing of, you're seriously getting married. You're not joking about it. There's a commitment. Your mind is made up. Your focus is one. So at times I feel like this is something I will pray through. This is something that we will weather down. They never see the permanence of the polygamy. Yeah.
All right. Well, what then are these many reasons that you speak of, Tari? and I know we can't exhaust all of them, but at least we can touch on those ones that we can avoid, those ones that we can try. work on so that we can limit a scenario where your husband will go out. And probably one of the basic ones would be, make sure that you're always there, make sure that you accord them the love, make sure that you view as them as your husband, as your partner, as your love, as opposed to looking at them as, a security giver, a supplier, or, that person who brings in supply, and so much so.
We'll be candid here. I think one of the great things that even when the counselors, when you come to looking at the review of why men get married, you find women get married, one, for that companionship, for the security per se. But men have got this idea that is always in them, and they always desire, that I have come from the world of looking for intimacy, whereby it takes me so long to get this intimacy. And now to the point when I get into the marriage, I'm going to have what we call unlimited. You'd almost say unlimited data. Okay. So they're unlimited.
Yes.
Now, when they get into this, they enter with that mentality, unlimited, where I will no longer struggle for this thing. Just like maybe when somebody gets married, maybe most of the women when they get married, especially to a man who is well off, they are like, my financial issues are over. I will never again have to struggle financially. I am settled. Anything I need, I'll get it. But then they get into that relationship and they suddenly realize it was just not the money about. It was not just about the money. I also needed somebody, a human being, not an artificial somebody who just comes in and provides the money, and he does nothing else. So men have also this mentality that when they get into marriage, they will get unlimited intimacy. But that comes and they discover, and when we look at today, in most marriages, you will see there are men and women, couples who are together, but there is nothing happening in between them. Yeah. And so they're like, we want to maintain our status the way it is, but the man begins to realize this is not what I got into. I am actually starving in this relationship. So what do? They begin to opt for an outside relationship. And when they go to that relationship, probably, as Dr. Jane said, maybe the woman may say, I will not accept this. So he's never accepted back into the place. He's never taken as the man again. But now he's like, I will not lose both of them. I will keep the mother to my kids, and I will still continue with this other relationship. So one of the things is that mentality of unlimited intimacy. Number two, there is also this thing, I'll say, the nature. Sometimes we refuse to look at the reality. All of us are created with the nature of wanting more than one thing.
Is it so?
The truth. Human beings. Let me say, I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about the nature of human beings. Right. You get one car today, tomorrow you want a second one. You buy a dress today, tomorrow you want two, you want three, you want four. That thing is still in the human nature. It actually removes religion from the world. In fact, that's another day we were just discussing. We were saying, if you remove religion from the world, you will see the craziness that will be all over. Because there will be people who can do anything. It's like remove the policemen from our country. Or today the policemen say we are not working today. That's when you realize the guy that lives next door to you is a thug. Right. He will come and rob you. So remove some of the laws and the restrictions of the natural law that governs humanity. Remove that. And suddenly you'll see people do different things. That is where you find men want to drop some things. You'll suddenly find maybe somebody who was deeply Christian will say now, I'm dropping from this and I'm becoming that. But all they're looking for is a legality on be able to launch into polygamy. Right. So I will say there is that nature, which every human being has to understand. If you don't understand God in the way he created, the intention of God of creating man and woman, then when you remove that, then greed comes in. And that is what drives men mostly to polygamy. Right. They want to acquire. They want just another wife, just like they got another car.
Why then do they stop the women to acquire? Are we not human enough to say that we'd want to upgrade? Today I have this Mercedes-Benz, I'd want to upgrade to this better one and this class and all that. Let's come respond to that after this break. society and what it is that I'm doing in a way puts a cap for me, and so I won't do that. Just why would a man go for a second wife? Just why? I mean, they say there's really nothing different in these women. Some of them tell you, no, huyo wangu hata simu active, ani challenge, sasa nataka kupata Mkikuyu ule anani challenge vizuri. And they say that confidently, lie to your face, and then you ask yourself, why not challenge her?
True. You know, I want to say, to me, the reason why somebody will look for a second wife, number one is vanity. It's a sense of vanity. Because at the end of the day, they'll say, like Solomon, 1,000 wives. He said, this is all vanity of vanities. He discovered there was nothing different about them. And he said one thing, be pleased with the wife of your youth. He discovered the original Mama Wamoshi. That was the only one that was going to make me happy, even after 1,000. Nobody had sampled more than him. And at times I look at it this way. Men are supposed to deal with issues in their marriage. But when they don't want to deal with issues that are causing them discomfort, they want to have an escape. And not all of them. The men that go for polygamy, they want to have an escape route. They do not want to deal with their own character, where you harness yourselves. As we said, what if a woman went for another husband? It would break the man. The fist fight would never end. And God forbid, that's the wrong way to go. However, I'm looking at it this way. You don't want to solve the issues with your wife. You look for another one without issues. But it's a matter of time they replicate, because you didn't deal with yourself. So even if you got another one to fulfill you intimately,
right,
you're using then women as toys. It's not about a relationship. And so I keep saying, when you don't work at something, you'll always get an alternative. You either work at what you have, make it what you'd like it to become, or else you easily look for an alternative. At the end of the day, research you had done showed those men die young, number one, because of diabetes. Because balancing causes the insulin just to go crazy. Okay. And then they have all those lifestyle diseases. Even if the other woman knows, because you're trying to balance emotions of two women. And women are very territorial. A woman will want to fight for her territory, and they fight it dirty. So at the end of the day, who is receiving all the blows? Actually, it is this man. And it gets to a point when the second marriage is no longer exciting, and then the man begins to think that I need to go for a third one, or I need now to escape from the two. So I always say one thing. There may be reasons, but there is no valid reason, unless it is now the religion, and you said you're not getting there. There is no other valid reason, because some others will give a reason like, there are more men than women, so we'll marry the extra woman. Sure. Who told you you're the assistant God? Come and help
maybe that then would probably not allow us to go into this conversation, because, well, all these connotations are out here as to why a woman cannot have two, but a man can have as much as 3 and 4 and 5.
Yes.
And so maybe we don't even need to go into that, because morally we look at this whole thing as something that is not morally right.
Upright.
And upright. And, you know, then I'd want to ask this. As a woman, just where do you get the confidence and acceptance of being taken as the second one?
By the way, let me tell you, I've sat with so many. And especially when it gets to a point that now there is a loggerhead between the families, and suddenly it's like now the husband has to reveal, or the husband has to face the issues because things have gone out of hand. And I've asked them, many of them, not 10, not 20, many. I asked them, what got you here? Number one, at times you listen to them, you empathize with their situation. However, it doesn't make it morally right. Number one, they say, you know what? I needed a man figure in my life. And who doesn't? And the only person I got was this one. Number two, most ladies will say, young men my age who are not married are no longer there. They're all married, and I still want to be married. Number three, some of them is because of financial security. They feel like, you know what, I've been struggling, and this man has come along. And so he told me if I birth him a child, I sire him a child, he'll take care of us. And so somebody feels like, I've struggled for so long, here is a way out. It's not that they don't feel the pain and the guilt, but at times the need that they're going through overrides that. Number 4 is because somebody feels like, I don't want the responsibility. There's one who told me, I don't want the responsibility of shaping a man.
A man.
I want
let
a
him
man
come
who's
to
shaped.
me once we're done.
Yes, a man who is shaped financially, emotionally, everything. Me, I'm just there to keep him happy, and I don't have my piece of land, and I'll get my recognition when he leaves this world, and that's it. So the ideas are selfish. The reasons are selfish. Yeah.
And I'm told actually these ones are the best of deals out there, because yes, he comes shaped. He understands how to treat a woman. He understands how to, make sure you feel good. He will cater for the bills, and then eventually you won't have to fight with him because he's always constantly around. He will go to the wife, and you do not have to worry, because when he's not here, he is on the other side.
In fact, I was reading an article of a certain lady who was saying she got married as a second wife because for her she had been married before, and she felt like she didn't need a man 24/7. She needed him a man 1 day a week. And so for her, she was like, with the security of the money coming in, she was ready to take that man for just that moment. And that recognition of saying somebody's wife is, it feels like it is much better than when you're told you're somebody's concubine. So they would rather take that option of the second wife than being told I'm pango wakando. Now again, when you look at the reality, I spoke to one man who has 3 wives. And I was asking him, we took a drive somewhere, we were going to see a friend, and he began to lament about when he got married to the first wife, the challenges he had he thought maybe the wife would be obedient, and now they are challenging each other in the house, and so he thought he needs a second wife. And he actually told the first wife, and she didn't like it, but eventually he got the second wife. Now after he got the second wife, now she says she became just like the first one. And now the challenges were there, and what he wanted, by the time he comes to the second home, she has to answer a few questions about the first home. And so he maybe thought, now if he gets a third one, it might quieten the two. So he got a third one. Then the 2 became friends. What? And now he was afraid. This is a genuine man. He's telling me, he said they became friends, and now he's very scared about the way they are talking nicely.
That's true.
And they might do something harm to him. But he was saying, throughout all the process, he was in pursuit of looking for something to control. And he was feeling he's losing control with the first one and the second one. And now he said, eventually he thought now, when he got the third wife, it was mellow for some time, but immediately it became just like all the rest. And now he had to deal with a lot of emotions. Every day he would go to any home. But outside there, he would pretend even to other men, he'd say, this is okay. Now the greatest challenge that he was saying, he was in fact, he was asked by one man, and he said, most of the times I have to inform my first one when I'm going. And he was asked why. He said, I don't want to go there and find another man.
Oh, wow.
Because there's that possibility.
Oh, when I'm coming. When I'm coming home, I have to make a phone call.
He makes a phone call.
I don't want surprises.
He doesn't want surprises. And because he was like, I don't know, probably that could be happening. And so the reality, when you look at sometimes polygamy, it has its own weird dynamics. And most men who go for polygamy will think that they will have, number one, enough sexual intimacy, but then they discover the baggage that comes with the intimacy has become even more. You would rather actually go back and work on that thing, the first marriage that you had broken into. But I say also the same thing. You find also there are relationships where you find women that are difficult to work with, whereby she has decided. You find a woman who simply tells you, I've handled counseling when he says, nilimwambia hata ende atafute babu mwingine. And the guy is looking, and the guy is looking and he's like, are you sure if I get another one, will this thing's cool? And she's like, you go get another one. And he's like, I will actually look for another one. And then by the time he goes and looks for another one, then now the chaos erupts on this other side. You thought I was serious when I was telling you that.
I was just,
yes, you were so serious.
And now there is a kid in the picture. There's a kid in the picture. And when you want to pull off, nowadays, ladies are not playing games. They make their demands. and they are good lawyers who are able to follow up and say this is what we want.
Yeah.
So it's actually a very complicated issue. One has to, you can justify and say I'm looking for a next door wife because maybe I want the sexual intimacy. But when now you find when you get that one, it's just like when you buy one car. Sorry to use that example of a car, but when you get one and then you get another one, you realize that you have to pay insurance for this one.
This is the one.
And probably when they break down, you discover that you have to repair so much. So yes, you can say you have two cars, but at the end of the day, there is a price that is very heavy for.
Interesting. Then why is it that men kind of feel like, you know what, now they also can inherit this thing? You know, grandfather yangu walikuwa na bibi watano, and therefore, hata mimi, even when they're getting into marriage, they put that possibility, they put it in their head that, you know what, it is hereditary, and so if my dad had 3, then it is almost obvious that I will as well have 3. And I have seen, and I've been into a homestead that appeared so peaceful and calm, and these wives appeared to be so happy, 3 of them. And the husband is like a king, you know. We are here, we are the visitors, we analeta dengu, we analeta chapati, we analeta nini, and it appeared beautiful to me.
Yeah, you know, we also have to look at the cultural factor.
Okay.
We are schooled from our first school of learning, which is the family, the home, the parents, the immediate. Every child is schooled by what they see. So the first teachers are the parents and the environment, immediate. So in case the parents are polygamous, and then the immediate environment, the uncles, the grandfather, they're also polygamous, there is already a preparation and a writing in the mind that it is okay, this is the way life is. So this child grows knowing uko na mama mkubwa, mama mdogo, sijui hapa kuna mama wa katikati. They grow knowing there are 3 or 4, and that is culturally acceptable. In those cultures, they even accept the fact that as a girl, I can be married as a first, as a second, or as a third wife, because possibly the mom was a second wife.
Okay.
Or possibly the mom was a third wife. And so she was schooled to know how she needs to live with a man and with the other co-wives being a second or a third wife.
Okay.
And if you're the child of the first wife, your mother, you saw the struggles your mother went through and how she tried to work the system you know, to marry into the system the other 2 wives. So kind of like there's a psychological preparation, and when that happens to them, yes, they may have their dynamics of problems, but they have their coping mechanism. Because culturally they have their own coping mechanism. At a certain point, however, having talked to a few of these women, they get to a point and they feel like, I wish I was number 1. And that's why internal dissatisfaction comes in, and they pass it on to their children. Okay. And family wrangles begin there. The children of the first, the second, and the third. The conflict for the man is so much because the 3 families or 2 families have got children with internal conflict. It is so much for the man to handle, and now he's heading to an advanced stage of his age that you find them breaking down early.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, the dynamics still are there, because even if the women look peaceful, the children are not. Children are competitive. Eat my daddy. I needed him more. Amekuwa kwenu siku mbili, kwa nini sio kwetu?
You know, it's funny, I agree to that, because even in that setup where, yes, there's just mother, father, and children, you as children will always look at your dad as your own dad.
Yeah.
You don't even care about your sister.
Yeah.
You think it's about me first, let my problems or my troubles be fixed first. And speaking of which then, again, that question that you had raised, where will all these other women go to? Because the population evidently, from at least what is conducted every other time, shows that women are more than men. So as you answer that, now that we also come to a point of acceptance that, you know, this is here today, just how best can you handle it? Just how best as a man can you make sure that you create that balance that appears to be very hard to create? You
see, the reality is that no matter how much, even if you are to introduce and we say there is a legal that there will be no polygamy, it will either be there formally or informally. We cannot eradicate it. Now, for those who are governed by the traditions and by the religion, then they will need to work at best to make sure that the families are stable. But one thing that I've discovered, because being a counselor, I have dealt with a lot of children who have come from polygamous family. And there is always that thing, especially with women. They will always be talking negatively about the other person. There will always be that kaka, whatever. Are you happy in that family? You find maybe somebody is saying, my dad spends so much time on the other side. We feel like my mom tells us not to talk to this one. So you find there are conflicts that will continue. There are few men who can be able to govern their families with exception ability. And so that may not be something that may be workable. But at the end of the day, if today you look at the situation that is happening, whether we say no to polygamy or we say yes to polygamy, the thing is, marriages are very challenging to handle. And we cannot escape from the reality that there will always be those challenges. Now, at the end of the day, it is an individual who makes a choice on what they want. And before you get married, you have also to stipulate exactly what will make for that marriage. Now, I believe nobody runs to polygamy, and most of the times when we've sat in counseling where somebody has taken a second wife, they never took the second wife out of because the first marriage was working.
Okay.
You will find that there was something wrong with the first marriage, and that is something pushed that person either to start looking for other solutions out there. So I would say, I would rather, for the women who are listening, because those are the ones who are facing challenges when a man goes out there and says, I'm getting a second. It is now to realize you got to become builders for your homes. Become better in everything, because the competition is higher. Even prophetically, if you look at the book of Isaiah, chapter 4 verse 1, says 7 women will pursue one man. And they say, we don't need money, we don't need your clothes, we don't need your food. All we need is a child with you, so that we can have that dignity of being called a wife. So the competition is there. So what will that woman have to do? The woman who is keeping her home has to now look and make that relationship happy. A man also has to ask himself, what am I putting myself into? Because this is not just about a man. You have to ask yourself, what will your children go through?
Okay.
Are you able to raise them? Because you are finding some people are polygamous and they have nothing to give to the kids. Unasikia baba ametuma mtoto shule, ama amemtupa sijui wapi, and there is no money, and he's saying he will provide. And that is why you find in some, like the Islamic religion who adopt polygamy, they will be like, you don't even marry. It is not that it is a right that you go and marry 4 women. They say, only marry those women if you can be just to them.
Right.
So the question is, are most people doing what they are doing out of the justice? And if you'll bring human beings to suffer here on earth, then I think you don't deserve even to be treated well.
Wow. All right, Daktari, unpack this statement that bora kukuna respect, bora tutasumbuana. I don't see why it should be a problem for a man to go out there and marry another wife and another one and another one. And remember, this statement is from a woman.
Yeah, and I can tell you where it comes from. It comes from a woman who is fed up. It comes from a woman who has fought so many battles, who has tried to see how it can work out together. Before a woman says it's over, she has fought her battles. She has tried to do everything. And I know, as Dr. was saying, we've had women who have actually told their husbands, I would be glad if you got a second wife. I know of women who went to look for second wives for their husbands.
Yeah.
And when you ask them the reason, they will tell you, because I've tried to make him happy, I've done my best, and now I need to be me. I need not to find my space, I need to find me. He will never appreciate me. He will never see me as I ought to be seen. And I've tried to make it. So instead of divorce, that comes from this mindset. Instead of divorce, because there are children in the picture, just go do your thing, get another one, let there be respect. Because at the end of the day, those women are tired.
Is that a good option for, as opposed to taking divorce? Is that a better option?
I will not say yes or no, but I'll say that's a very personal decision. It's a very, very personal decision. Because as a woman, when you get to a point to feel like most women getting there, and to me, all these things are not the right way to go. However, when a woman gets to that point, she has weighed at possibilities. If this man goes, these children won't be educated. I'll not be able to keep the discipline alone.
Okay.
So I've tried to make him happy. I've tried to make him feel, and he'll never accept me. You know, there are marriages, sincerely, where a woman discovers they got married wrong.
That's true.
This is not the person he wanted to marry. No, the person he wanted to marry was actually not me. And you discover I've done everything, but you will never love me. It is fake. And I will never be able to feel happy with you. So go get somebody you can love, give you attention and affection and everything. Come and take care of us.
Wow. Okay. Acceptance. That is all right. I am the first one, but a second one has been brought, maybe because I have grown old, and the old is I do this a lot, you know. Sometimes it's not even that there's trouble in this particular marriage. Mama amekuwa tu mzee, sasa unataka kumletea msaidizi. So how do we get mama to accept that yes, there's a second wife that's coming in, and how do we even get the second wife to accept that it's all right? I would have loved to have a husband of my own, but life has treated me to this, and therefore I'm coming into this life of this setup, and therefore I have to be comfortable and learn to respect Mama wa Kwanza and accord her the respect she deserves.
You know, I will say this, by the time, the second one does not have to accept anything.
Okay.
I know there are some who have been lied to, that they are the only ones, then they discover the man had another wife.
Yes.
Now that becomes a shocker, because this second woman has to make a decision whether she wants to continue in this relationship or she bails out of the relationship. Now for those ones, you find most of them, a big number know that there's a first wife. But let me tell you something about a first wife, and I'm not speaking like a woman, but I'm saying rarely. You know, it is that where you lift up your hand, you say, I give up. I accept my position because I will not kill this man. I will not walk out of this marriage after being married for 50 years or for 40 years. I have settled so much probably in a community, in a society, that if now I choose to divorce, it will bring an imbalance not even to her, but also to the kids and even to the society. She has a support system. So you find most of them, it is actually just lifting up their hands and giving up and accepting because things cannot change. Otherwise, it is not easy to tell another woman that now be at ease because another woman has come. Okay. It will never be. Even if in religion.
Right.
There's some, if you look at the research, go to Google and you do many research. Talk to some of the women where maybe the religion, the culture allows polygamy. You will hear a woman will always say, I don't prefer to have my husband to marry another. But because it has happened, we accept it, but you'll always find there is that dissatisfaction. There is always that competition. And men have also said they cannot ever be able to love the women the same way. You'll always have your favorite.
Of course.
Oh, yes.
You can't love.
It will be automatic.
You cannot even love two people at the same time.
Impossible. No. Is it so?
One will be a friend, the other one will be a lover.
The second one will always be looked at as an enemy.
No, that one could even be the husband's lover now, the new one.
Actually, the newer ones are usually
loved more.
They love, yeah.
More. You'll find a man will say, I respect my first wife a lot.
Yeah, it is about
I value her. She's the mother of my kids.
I respect her, please.
I provide everything for her.
But the heart is on this side.
Hapa pengine. Huko ndio mambo yote.
I don't know, we close this subject by asking, I'll ask you, doctors, you know, why should men go for second wives or even third? Why should they, honestly?
For me, I'll say, apart from the religion, which I do not want to get into, if just a kawaida young man in my neighborhood decides to get a second wife, I think he's not harnessing his emotions and he's not taking responsibility of this very wife that he brought to keep watering her to become the lover that he saw. He does not water what he saw to make it better. And the only thing he at times looks at this woman is what is she not doing, not what she's doing. So I feel this is somebody who is escaping responsibility. To work on your marriage, to work on your relationship, strengthen it, be the head, be the ruler. And so they look for an escape route.
Doctor?
Now I agree with her, that is the men's side. But the women's side, I also will say every man marries for comfort.
Okay.
He wants to come home to not a sofa set, but a woman who is comfortable to come to. Not a woman who becomes like a sister.
Aye.
Well, let me tell you the truth. Men are not marrying outside there because they want better food. They are going outside there because they want a woman who will embrace them, number one, intimately when it comes to their sexuality. They want somewhere they can be, they know that this is the woman that is satisfying me. But when now that man becomes rejected, then other ideas, if that person is not strongly rooted in God, then there is most likely that they may run outside there. So I will also challenge the women. Be the comfort in that home. Be the person that when that man comes, and when you have a good man, accept that you have a good man. Because one thing that I've discovered, most men, it becomes so hard to turn back. When a man has taken the route of polygamy, I'm telling you, for him to turn around, it may never happen again. So I will say, each one, man, take your responsibility, work on your marriage. Woman, even in your home, also work in keeping that man.
You know, I just realized that every other time we're having this conversation, so much burden has been bestowed upon the shoulders of the women.
Of the woman. It is so true.
Boy,
and you know, I also want to look at it this way. A lot, and this is like a new move where the woman was made to be responsible to make things happen alone. And it is like, if nothing works out, where mama, it is you. And the society now points at the woman. I also want to even put a case forth for the women. There are women who will have done everything, but at times the interference of parents.
That's true.
Because there's so many factors. Perhaps the parents felt this is not the right woman. And so the man visits the parents and comes with a different mindset. And suddenly he feels like, I wish I would get one who my parents would accept.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, the dynamics are very many. And I say God has given the woman the responsibility to build and make a home. But I also feel like the men now, not all, but most men are hands off. Anything will bash the woman and the woman should not react. The woman should be like a loving zombie. It's also important for men to know that even the other one they are going to is not a zombie.
Hold it. Don't Melissa this juice. How about we discuss the burden, I don't want to call it the responsibility that has been bestowed upon women in relationships next week.
It's important.
That's a deal. Thank you so much, Dr. Jane Kimani, Dr. Julius Kimani. It was good having you this morning. Well, it depends on how you want to look at it. It depends on what is going on in that setup of yours. But as Dr. Jane would say it, it's really important that you water it. You water it, you won't probably see the need of going out there in search for more. Thank you so much. We close it at that. I look forward to see you on Wednesday.
Yes.
As we discuss the burdens that are on the shoulders of women. I'm speaking with authority because somehow I have seen them, I have experienced them. And out of the conversations, like I said, every single day, it's always the woman, you need to do this, you need to do that. I think it's unfair. See you on Wednesday. See you tomorrow for Morning Cafe.